Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Jay Shah, Vice President and Head Cultural Outreach, Mahindra Group, Sanjay Roy, Managing Director, Teamwork Arts, Ankur, Judith, Purnika, and my other colleagues at Meta Secretariat, I would like to welcome you all to the first virtual Meta. Mahindra Excellence in Theatre Awards 2020 is celebrating its 15th landmark edition with an innovative virtual award ceremony on August 30th. The ceremony will feature leading theatre personalities, including past and present nominees, Meta awardees, and our colleagues from the world of theatre. The lead up to the Mahindra Excellence in Theatre Awards 2020 includes a 3-week-long celebration, which began on 10th August with the Meta Theatre Critics Conference, followed by the launch of the first ever published edition of the Meta Best Original Script on the 18th, and today, a tribute for the Meta 2020 Lifetime Achievement Awardee, Barry John, and culminating in the award ceremony on August 30th, which will be for the first time accessible to the entire theatre community from India and across the world. About today's event. Each year, Meta acknowledges the contribution of an individual or an institution for an astounding body of work and an astonishing legacy that they have built. In the past, the Meta Lifetime Achievement Award has been presented to actor Zohra Sehgal, playwright and director Badal Sarkar, designer and director Khalid Chaudhry, director Ibrahim Al-Qazi, eminent playwright Girish Karnad, and acclaimed theatre persons Kanhailal, Ratan Thyam, Arun Kakade, and Vijay Mehta. Last year, we presented the award to one of India's most eminent playwright, Mahesh Elkunchwar. This year, the honor of the Meta Lifetime Achievement Award is being bestowed upon a theatre veteran with a towering body of work. We welcome you to this very special award ceremony, which will see the stalwarts from the stage come together through the unbridled powers of the internet as Meta recognizes one of Indian theatre's maestros, Barry John. And to start, may I please invite Managing Director, Teamwork Arts, and former Admin Director of TAG, Sanjay Roy.
Thank you very much, Suraj, and welcome to all of you viewing this particular very special episode of the Lifetime Achievement Award. 15 years ago, when Ravi Dubey went to Anand Mahindra and actually put together the idea of having the Meta Awards and then came to us and we created this, in many ways it was really coming a full circle because all of us in some way owe our journey to Barry John and Theatre Action Group. It is he who we're celebrating today in this hopefully magnificent way. The 15th Meta is iconic in many different ways. Even while COVID has ravaged the world of the arts and taken away some of our most amazing creative people, the arts industry lost Ibrahim Al-Qazi just a few months ago, and I take this occasion on behalf of Meta to pay our respects to this incredible stalwart of the theatre and the arts community. 15th Meta is going to be different. We are going to do this virtually, online. Yes, it's a challenge in so many different ways. But while it's a challenge, we've also seen it's an opportunity. Already in just 2 events that we've done as part of the celebration of the 15th Meta Awards, we have been able to reach across to 45,000 people, which is roughly the sum total of all the people who watched Meta for 10 years. So even while it presents an opportunity, I'd like to take this occasion to thank the Mahindra Group for their continued support of the arts, especially today, in our time of need. We understand that the artistic community and artisans, if they don't perform, if they don't create, if they don't sell, if they don't design their lights, if they don't work backstage, well, they don't eat. This is an insecure profession. We have no access to bank loans and financial instruments, and each and every person who chooses the arts does so with passion and with commitment. And it's this commitment that we chose to celebrate when we began the Lifetime Achievement Award 10 years ago. And who better to give it to than to Barry John? Barry, for all of us, has not just been a way of life. He and Tag have been a community, each one of us connected on the screen, and all the people who you will meet today who are paying tribute, and the many hundreds who have messaged me from across the world saying, why were we not included in the messages to Barry? We really are a community irrespective of time, place, location, where we are. And that community has been built because of theatre. Why is the art so important, and why do we need to celebrate theatre? Theatre is one of those rare forms that allows you to tell the truth and to be able to understand that there isn't just one truth. Many truths can coexist side by side. By being an actor, you're able to understand how another person feels, thinks, perceives a situation. That they're not an enemy, they're not alien to us, they're not foreigners, they're not refugees, they're not minorities. They are just people like you and me. Today, the arts is even more important. It's a way to be able to push back on hatred, push back on the anger, push back on ignorance and fear that abounds around us. In our celebration of Meta, we celebrate the arts for everything that it stands for: knowledge, beauty, creativity, and the very essence of a human being. It also allows us to realize our full potential. On behalf of all of us, his students, his colleagues, so many of us who've been part of the TAG journey for so long, Barry, to you, I would like to raise a toast to say thank you from each and every one of us for everything that you gave us, taught us, showed us, and allowed us to believe in ourselves, believe in the arts, believe in theatre. So to you, Barry John, cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Meta and the Mahindra Group, it is a privilege to announce the Meta 2020 Lifetime Achievement Award to director, actor, educationist, writer, designer, calligrapher, Barry John.
Born in 1944 in the industrial city of Coventry, West Midlands County, England, Barry John was all of 12 when he started selling newspapers and pursuing theatre in the evenings. 10 years later, he spotted an ad in the newspapers asking for English teachers in what was then Bangalore, now Bengaluru. 22-year-old Barry was in love with the idea of travelling the globe and arrived in Bangalore to a salary of 200 rupees per month, a world of yoga and Pandit Ravi Shankar. It was the year of the Beatles, bell-bottoms, beads. When he was not teaching, Barry pursued his passion as an actor with the Bangalore Little Theatre until a friend invited him to come to Delhi. The 1970s, a golden age in theatre, saw Barry shift to Delhi and lay the foundation of Theatre Action Group, TAG, in 1973, with people like Abha Sood, Asha Kochar, Khalid Taibji, Lilet Dubey, Manohar Singh, Meera Nair, Pamela Rooks, Pankaj Kapoor, Ravi Dubey, Roshan Seth, Siddharth Basu, Surekha Sikri, Vidyun Singh, and many more. An illustrious group with a cult following, they created theatre history for over 2 decades with brilliant productions including Mara Saad, Equus, Amadeus, Noises of, Agnes of God, Cactus Flower, Tea House of the August Moon, Rough Crossing, and Baghdad Ka Ghulam. TAG inspired legions of young people to look to the arts as a career including Deepika Amin, Divya Seth, Manoj Bajpayee, Radhika Singh, Rituraj Singh, Sanjoy Roy, Shah Rukh Khan, amongst others. Later, Barry went on to become the founder director of the NSD's Theatre in Education Company, and with TAG he set up Nukkad, a theatre project for street and working children that went on to become part of the Salam Balak Trust. In 1996, Barry set up Imago and made the move to Mumbai to create the now iconic Barry John Acting Studio, which became the foundation for many acclaimed actors in film, including Arjun Kapoor, Frida Pinto, Sushant Singh Rajput, Rana Daggubati, Richa Chadda, Sunny Kaushal, Varun Dhawan, and the list goes on. Over the years, Barry has acted on stage as well as in films, including Satyajit Ray's Shatranj Ke Khiladi, Masi Sahab, Miss Beatty's Children, Shahid Uddam Singh, and Attenborough's Gandhi. He has played memorable roles including Salieri in Amadeus and in the internationally acclaimed play Othello in Black and White by Royston Abel, which won a Fringe First Award at the Edinburgh Festival and has since travelled the world over. Barry John has received national awards from the Sangeet Natak Academy, the Sahitya Kala Parishad, and the Delhi Natya Sangh. But more than the prestigious awards and honours, Barry's true legacy has been the many people he has inspired, loved, and stimulated over the years. In the words of Oscar Wilde, life imitates art far more than art imitates life. Barry's journey has been one terrific ride, no less than a blockbuster, full of drama, love, joy, and continual learning.
I was 16, just out of school, fresh at college, when I first met Barry John. This intense, blonde Britisher with a piercing gaze, who came to the country as a teacher, but stayed on and soon made theatre his vocation. For those of us who know Barry's work well, he's been a superb actor, director, designer, choreographer, even calligrapher. But for most of us, his most outstanding role has been as a teacher, whose life was a lesson in dedication and commitment, in meticulousness of craft and art, and exhaustive study and research, balanced with bursts of imagination, invention, and improvisation. To us, Barry has been a guru figure and, of course, a theatre pioneer. To our mind, he's a very well-deserving recipient of the Meta Lifetime Achievement Award. Congratulations, Barry John. Pranam.
Congratulations, Barry, for the award. We celebrate you and we're delighted and proud. You richly deserve this and much more. In addition to your enormous contribution to the evolution of theatre in India, I believe it's been the huge impact you've had on young people and training them not just for theatre, but for life through theatre. I think of you often with gratitude, celebrating the fact that nearly 50 years ago, you came into my life and a group of us at St. Stephen's College, still undergraduates and teenagers, with precocious aspirations of our own engagement with theatre. We learnt much from you that has expanded our horizons and over the decades has stood us in very good stead. Not only about theatre, but about design, about set design, lighting and community, about acting, self-discipline, and nurturing intellectual rigor, engaging with nuances of a script. I was privileged to be a signatory of the document registering TAG and learned much about organizing and administration. You were an intense, silent and compassionate teacher whose most powerful censure was a sulk, especially impactful to those who adored you. 5 decades later, here we are, greeting you on an enormous success, with affection, with a prayer that every good health and happiness ever be yours. And may the good work continue.
Congratulations, Barry. You and I started TAG a lifetime ago. And since then, I know you've enriched everyone's lives from your love of theatre, your skill at teaching and directing. So all I can say is keep winging it, brother. Ciao, Bella, ciao.
I can't believe we've reached that point when Barry is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, because I remember like yesterday when I saw Barry for the first time in a room full of children, a sprightly young man playing games and flying around like a bird. And I think he inspired a whole generation of people to play. But more than anything else, and I say this for myself, he gave us the courage to believe in the playing and to become performers, storytellers, theatre makers, filmmakers. I really hope you continue to inspire people to continue playing Barry.
Hi Barry, this is Viveka from Berlin now, and want to congratulate you. My God, what an honor. And we were asked to for a minute's video of memories and thoughts about you, and quite frankly, a minute would never be enough. So can I just say a massive thank you. I'm going to take my glasses off because everyone says I look like that girl from whatever, Despicable Me or something. But just want to thank you.
Hello BJ, and congratulations on the Lifetime Achievement Award. And congratulations Meta for continuing to do the great work that you're doing for theatre. BJ, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you because I think that the time that one spent with you and with TAG was a very important time in our lives. Because it was not just about acting or becoming an actor. I think what it did was, it actually taught us to look at things differently, to think outside the box, to follow one's heart and do things that we had a passion for. And speaking for myself personally, I think it probably did change my life. And it helped me from being, well, not just another person, but just another person, the kind of just another person that I wanted to be. So thank you once again, congratulations once again, take care.
Barry is one of the most relaxed theatre directors I've ever worked with. He would let you do anything you wanted with the character for weeks on end. Meanwhile, he would plot the play and show you the set design and the costume design. And 1 week before the production, you would wake up with a brilliant idea on your character and you had to produce it on the show date. That was one thing. And the other thing is Barry could never remember his lines. So when we did the lead together in chapter 2, he had this tape recorder and he used to record everybody's lines, including his, and we would all be on tenterhooks. And in habeas corpus, when we did the lead together again, we were down center and he forgot his lines. And he remained in character and made it seem as if I had forgotten my lines. Anyway, it was great fun. I learned a lot. And here's to many Lifetime Achievement Awards, Barry. God bless.
As a young student working on Delhi stage, I would hear that there's this only one person who knows how to teach acting in India. Now there were 2 points of curiosity for me in there. One, what is there to teach about acting? And who is this only person who knows how to teach acting in India? Because I was acting without being taught and I was having fun. So out of my curiosity, I went looking for Mr. Barry John and I found him. Thank you so much, Barry, for teaching me how to be comfortable in my own skin as a person, how to be aware of my voice as an artist, how to stand with dignity and integrity as an actor, how to have fun while rendering myself foolish, how to have fun while rendering myself vulnerable. The time spent at ITG, the Imago Theatre Group, is very, very special to me. You taught me how to own myself as a person. You taught me how to accept and respect everyone's experiences around me. Much congratulations and so much love to you.
Hey Barry, how are you? Haven't seen you for a long time. The first time I saw you on stage was in, I think, 1972 or 3, as the servant, the harried servant between two masters. And to somebody like me, a callow youth from Delhi, it was enthralling. I mean, it was truly awesome, the strength of your performance and your professionalism. And then, of course, we got to know you better. And, we understood actually what it means to be a professional artist. And I think that's one reason why most of us did not become one. We went into much more stable and, sort of predictable careers, at least the guys you had clustered around you. But it's great to know that, the world has finally caught up with what we knew right then, that you are the best of the best. So many congratulations and more strength to your elbow, and look forward to more performances and more ventures, artistic ventures from you.
Hi Barry, congratulations for receiving Lifetime Theatre Achievement Award. मुझे अच्छी तरह से याद है जब मैं आपसे पहली बार मिला था मैसी साहब के सेट पर, तब आपने कहा हमारा एक थिएटर ग्रुप है, और वो थिएटर ग्रुप मैंने ज्वाइन किया और मैं आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखना चाहता था, जैसे खासकर एक्टिंग। तो आपने कहा कि संजय, एक्टर की जो लाइफ है बहुत थोड़ी होती है, तो आप इससे बेटर होगा कि कुछ सीख लें, जैसे लाइटिंग, सेट, जो भी कुछ आपको सीखना है। और मेरी जो रुचि रही वो सेट डिज़ाइन में रही, जो आगे चलकर वो मेरे बहुत काम आई, जिससे कि मैंने टेलीविज़न और फिल्म के लिए काफ़ी कुछ किया। और आपकी जो मेरी जर्नी है लगभग 37 साल की हो चुकी है, और आप मेरे साथ जो एक लंबा रिश्ता है, जैसे कि गुरु शिष्य का, बाप बेटे का और एक पार्टनर का, जो आज भी है।
Barry John, my guru, congratulations on getting the much-deserved Meta Lifetime Achievement Award, and thank you very much, Meta, for this. When I first met you, Barry, when I was 17 years old, I knew somehow that you would be a blessing in my life. Everything you taught me has ever since been and will always be my guide as an actor. Those 12 years I got in TAG, being directed by you in various roles, are the best memories of my life. You were so knowledgeable in every aspect of theatre. I would say perfect. That I filled up trunks and trunks of homework notes. And even today, and for the past, 39 years, your name is always the first on my lips, with a big thank you whenever I act. In my life, you are and will always be the best director and the best friend that I shall ever have. Thanks, Barry, for helping me be me. I love you from my heart and soul. Congratulations.
You've made such a huge difference to my life, and as an actor, you've taught me to think on my feet and to be creative, and I'm so thankful, and I'm very, very grateful, and I'm very excited for your award. And hopefully, now that you will be back in town, we can continue a little evening dinner chats. Lots and lots of love and all my respect. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you've done for theatre, for acting. Thank you for your wonderful performances. I hope that one day I can write something and cast you in it, because you'll be phenomenal. And I've learned from you firsthand, and I think that's what makes it. I retain the joy of still doing this. Thank you so much for it. Thank you. I love you.
Hi, I am Radhika Singh. I first met Barry John in 1973 when he directed me in the LSR annual play, The Ortolan. I was 19 years old. Subsequently, I joined his newly constituted theatre group TAG in Delhi. We were 14 members in the original core group, and we met almost every week over the next 10 years to read plays, attend theatre workshops that involved physical, vocal and creative exercises, hold auditions, raise funds, administer the organization, and present and perform plays in every genre. These were improvisations, proscenium plays, street performances, musicals, impromptu children's plays, all forms of avant-garde theatre. This was in the 70s, and we were caught up in an idealism that we believed would change the world. I continued my involvement with theatre off and on through the years. Barry John, in my opinion, is an outstanding teacher, artist and actor. My years with TAG, with Barry as the creative director, have defined the basic principles that have informed my life since then. Thank you.
As a young 23-year-old who had just relocated to Delhi, Sita Raina took me across to meet Barry John, 12 Link Road, Jangpura, the TAG headquarters, and there was no looking back. From my debut as Poppy Noises off, I went on to forge amazing friendships. This is where I met my partner Sanjoy. But most important, Barry, your influence runs through my life like a red thread. Remedial drama is a powerful tool that I use with my work with juvenile offenders, and each year I keep adding to my basket. Narrative therapy, forum theatre, playback theatre. Thank you for teaching me that theatre doesn't just belong in halls and auditoriums, but it plays a vital therapeutic role and begins our healing process. Thank you once again, and wishing you many, many more inspiring years ahead.
Delhi in the 1970s was a cloistered, claustrophobic, conservative small town, and into this place came Barry and the Theatre Action Group. It became a sort of a window into an alternate world where your sexuality was not questioned, your anger was welcome, your iconoclasm, all of these could get channeled into creative work of often very, very high quality. It's no wonder that Barry was able to attract an immense cast of characters who went on to shape the Indian performing arts scene over the next 50 years. I can think in no particular order of Meera Nair, of his most famous student, Shah Rukh Khan, of Manoj Vajpayee, of Sanjoy Roy, who makes this festival happen, Siddharth Basu, Ravi Dubey, who dreamed of this festival. List goes on. And all of this from the most unlikely person, a quiet, often saturnine, and yet ultimately very, very facilitating person.
Dear Barry John, you changed my life. I am so pleased to be able to be part of this tribute to you, because truly what you have done in the theatre and the people you have inspired and the craft with which you always presented the task at hand. That was the most beautiful lesson that I learned as a 16-year-old in your Barsati in Jangpura with all the rest of the Theatre Action Group. That you approached every piece of theatre like it mattered, and you worked it out, and you were quiet but sure of the path that you took us on. So I thank you. I thank you for being our guru, and I thank you for the good fortune that so many of your disciples were part of your life. I thank you for casting me always as the bloody boyfriend's mother and not the love interest. Thank you so much, Barry. You taught me a lesson in humility. You have just always burned bright in us. You were the seminal person who helped make Salam Bombay, my first feature film, what it is. You conducted this extraordinary workshop of all the street kids we gathered, and changed their lives and ours by teaching us to learn essentially from them. And you have been so much a milestone in my creative life, and I thank you so much. And I hold you close even like the days before COVID. And I hope we can meet again. And don't explode with all this love and warmth, sweetheart. Thank you.
Hi Barry, congratulations on being honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award at Meta. Barry, I must tell you that whatever I have learned about life, about theatre, acting, is only because of you. And there are many like me. And there are many who are going to benefit from your teaching. And I know that you are thinking of different ways of teaching students and or students of theatre, students of cinema. So very good luck. This is just the beginning. I know it. I know you. And rest, we'll chat a lot whenever we meet up next. Good luck, Barry.
You were my mentor, you were my guru, you were the one who ignited this passion in me that has burnt brightly for more than 50 years. And you were such an extraordinary teacher. You had the confidence to let us go, to discover things for ourselves, to explore, to not be scared of falling and failing, to push the envelope, to think out of the box, to just be free to be the artist that maybe we thought we couldn't be. And through all that, you were the one who kept the focus, who kept the discipline, who was the guiding spirit behind it all, and kept us steady on that course to be looking for what was the most important thing, which was the truth, the real thing. Those crazy, intense, highly creative, wonderful years with you in TAG have shaped all of us as creative people, as artists, as human beings. So your Guru Dakshina today is that all of us love you so very much still. And you always were and always will be our man.
But my, sort of working together was quite an experience when he was directing a play, a Greek play, and I was doing the costumes for that. So, sort of one was that how Barry, with his inscrutable silence, the students used to get very anxious that, he's not telling us what to do. And they would constantly come to me. I seemed more accessible for some reason and say that please, sort of find out what's going wrong. And I, there was no way that you could get Barry to give instructions. That's his method of working. But I also faced the same challenge because asking what is working for him in terms of costume, what is not working for him, it took quite an effort. So that was the first encounter that I had with Barry. And then, of course, we worked very, very closely when I took over as director of the NSD. And Barry and a whole team of people, sort of interested in theatre pedagogy, came together to give a relook to the syllabus. And we actually, sort of sat through long discussions day after day. It was a whole long year exercise. But towards the end, when we had to consolidate, I remember in my room, sort of all of us getting exhausted, somebody sleeping on the floor because there was a deadline and we had to give give some shape to the syllabus. So many inputs, but we didn't know how to organize. And frankly, I really panicked because I didn't know how will we give shape. There were all these ideas. We had an idea what to do, but we didn't know how it will come together. And that's when, like, a magician, Barry overnight created a kind of one A4 sheet paper with the whole design of the syllabus that, sort of, if these are the inputs to go into the first year, how do we, sort of categorize them, what happens, what is the stage 2, what is the stage 3. To this day, I have kept that paper, his handwritten paper, which really gave an indication about the, sort of the clarity that he had in what is to be done, and very organized thought. It really made the task so much easier. I really want to thank Barry for that.
This is the person who transformed me from a very shy, middle of the hall spectator into a full-fledged theatre wala. So all those who had misgivings about my taking theatre as a profession should know where to put the blame. I spent most of my BA and MA in, so to say, his classroom, whether it was his meticulous one-room flat in Jangpura, rehearsal space in a school or an auditorium. Barry is an extraordinary teacher who has won the trust of thousands of students, despite his often rather minimalistic communication. He is a true man of the Renaissance who strives to perfect not just one field but a dozen. I owe him immense gratitude for having completely transformed my life. And I send you, Barry, lots and lots of love.
And the summer of 1985 comes to mind. We were doing our second theatre camp for children. It was an integrated camp with both disabled, so-called disabled and so-called normal kids. This was just a few months after the horrible winter of 1984, the carnage against Sikhs and the Bhopal gas leak. And everybody was talking about going into the 21st century. And I just want to read a few words from Barry's program notes that summer. And it's a small booklet that has traveled with me the world over. And Barry says, "Personally, I have a theory that the inhumanity to man that prevails in many schools is a direct correlative of the increasing selfishness and violence that we experience in society in general. Children now are being pushed into the race towards the 21st century, imagining they can get there ahead of time, each one the winner. Struggling amidst these pressures, overburdened with boring bookwork, encouraged to compete with each other rather than cooperate, most children are being unwisely led away from any hope of developing harmonious, balanced personalities and ethical values." So here we are in the 21st century, and how prescient and how true these words sound. I just want to thank you, Barry, for preparing some of us at least to resist, to refuse, and to look beyond the capitalistic rat race to death that we're in the midst of. The work that you did and continue to do will bear fruit. Thank you, and Lal Salam.
I've had the great good fortune and privilege to have worked and acted with Barry in several productions since the founding of Theatre Action Group, TAG. The 4 decades of his contribution to theatre have been marked by his creative brilliance, his versatile acting, his meticulous stagecraft, innovative directorial productions, and his impactful development of some iconic talent. I'm sure all who have worked with Barry will agree with me about the unflinching integrity with which he casts the right talent for the right role, never being influenced by star quality or reputation. Congratulations, Barry. Very proud of your achievement.
Fortunate are those people who were privileged enough to be directed and guided by you. You never made it seem like you were directing us. You just quietly coerced us into doing exactly what you thought that character should do. Your meticulous stagecraft, your meticulous sketches, your costume design, your sound and light engineering, everything, and an amalgamation sort of came together on the last days just before the show. I am so lucky to count you as my friend. I am so lucky to be counted as your friend. No one is more deserving of this award than you.
Actually, the first time I worked with Barry, I was in class 3. He was directing this play Thumbelina for my school, Loreto Convent, and I had the role of a sleepy frog who kept yawning. Then many years later, when I joined TAG, I told Barry about this, and he just shook his head and rolled his eyes in the typical Barry John manner. No, but seriously, working with Barry has benefited me so much as an actress in this crazy world of Bollywood and television. You know, attending those theatre workshops at the blind school, working in the plays directed by him, helping backstage, it has given me so much confidence which I did not realize at that point of time. And just watching Barry work and everything about him in general, right from the way he stacks his books in his house to watching him meticulously design and plan everything. His set designs are a work of art in themselves, you know. So Barry, congratulations for the Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't think you know how much you have impacted our lives. And I truly think those 7 years that I spent in TAG with you and all the other wonderful people, I really count them as some of the best years of my life. Yeah. Congrats, Barry.
Coming to Delhi from Jalandhar as a 16-year-old was change enough. But meeting Barry a year later and then joining Theatre Action Group proved to be life-changing. Barry, of course, had come from Britain and had chosen to make India his home. But having done so, he made sure that his home was open to all. And it was through him that I met a very interesting and wide cross-section of society. And of course, it was a privilege to have acted in the premiere production of Theatre Action Group, A Macbeth, and several other productions after that. And overall, it's been an absolute privilege to have known Barry all these years.
Hey Barry, it's such a special day. I'm so thrilled. I'm going to try and compress a lifetime that you've given me into 60 seconds. For some people, there are classrooms, some have ashrams. My Gurukul was a Barsati in Jangpura. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for showing me the power of letting go and trusting the process and your fellow players. For showing me that discipline and creativity equals magic. For showing me an India that I had not seen before. For giving me the gift of Shakespeare and all those other readings. Thank you for letting me be your assistant on all those plays and shoots. And who can forget Apnautsav? You gave all of us the gift of theater. You helped me find my voice. And you showed me how to live. Thank you.
Very difficult to speak in a short while about Barry. But I would say for me, two things that stand out. How kind and generous he is as a co-actor, a fellow human being. And he is so beautiful, quiet, and yet sometimes very talkative. That was a revelation to me when we were traveling all over the world with Othello. And the other thing I can never forget is watching Barry from the wings, saying his monologues, the audience eating out of his hands, and every time delivering 100 out of 100. Salam.
Hi Barry, I'm here to wish you a big congratulations for this Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, I'm 100% sure that you deserve way more than anything anybody can ever give you here. What you have done for so many people. And personally, I had been one of the luckiest actor to have worked with you almost for 10 years. And that you have taught me at the National School of Drama. I was very scared of you initially, but you have, with your generosity, with your compassion, with your love, with your affection, with your teaching, had taught me how to be a generous actor, to prepare the space for the other actor, and to allow the other actor to flourish, and in the process that I can end up just responding to the other actor. And the other element that which has touched me the most is that your internalization, the capacity of your internalization. So I can go on. Most probably that there would be a book if I start writing about
what you have given me. So I wish you all the best. I wish you the best of your health. And I hope to sit with you one day in Dharmshala and a cup of coffee. And maybe I would like to cook for you one day. Thank you. Please keep smiling, and all my love and gratitude for you.
Barry sir played an influential and a crucial role, I think, in early adulthood. My work in theatre with him, working alongside him as a colleague, as a team member, I think the ethics and values of how he worked with his team, I think those have stayed with me till date. And yeah, the work that he's done in theatre has helped me understand the applications of theatre and the applications to life itself. It's gorgeous and it's a beautiful work that he's done, and I'm so happy he's getting this award. A memory I remember when I was in the theatre group with Barry sir, there used to be this funny story that would go around. I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently there was this one person who came up to Barry sir and he told him that मैं आपके साथ जुड़ना चाहता हूँ. And Barry sir has this way of just looking at you and expresses nothing, and you're wondering what the hell's going on. And after what seemed like eons, Barry sir looked at him and responded, "मैं क्या फेविकोल है?"
Warm and grateful thanks for the way in which you changed my life in the early 70s by helping me find myself through theatre. The young then motley crew that came together 50 years ago are still together, caring for each other, sustained, and that's because of our unique shared experiences of creating fantastic work, learning about the creative process from you and I, your meticulous planning for every production, crazy rehearsals, hanging out in your Barsati till dawn broke, diva tantrums, but all ending in camaraderie, a lot of good humor, much rum, and a lot else besides. Nobody could quite understand the passion with which we worked, and certainly not my parents. And we were always broke. And one thing jumps out at me. You and I thumbed the lift to CDIL offices in Connaught Place because we couldn't afford an auto, to make a pitch for a theatre festival at IFAX where we wanted to stage A Macbeth and Othello and Oedipus. And after the pitch, Dr. Gurpreet Singh looked up, smiled, and I'll never forget his words, and he said, "Great idea, how much do you want?" And he became a patron for life. So thank you, Barry. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for all the learning that so many of us had, and I did particularly. And may you continue to transform and touch lives as you always have done in the many avatars that you have created for yourself. Much love.
What an incredible journey and what beautiful memories. It's mesmerizing. To present the Meta Lifetime Achievement Award 2020, may I please invite Deputy Managing Director and Group CFO, Mahindra Group, Dr. Anish Shah, to say a few words and give away the award.
The Meta Lifetime Achievement Award was instituted to acknowledge the dedication, energy, and hard work that leading theatre practitioners in India have put into the field. Their unstinted efforts have contributed significantly to the growth and development of theatre as an art form. Over the years, the Meta Lifetime Achievement Award has become a very prestigious accolade to reward a vast body of theatrical work. Past awardees have included the late Badal Sarkar, the late Abraham Al-Qazi, the late Girish Karnad, the late Haisnam Kanhayalal, Ratan Thiam, the late Arun Kakare, Vijay Mehta, and Mahesh Elkunchwar. This year, in keeping with Meta's belief that the show must go on, in the face of unprecedented odds set up by a global pandemic, the Meta 2020 Lifetime Achievement Award is being conferred virtually to the renowned actor, director, designer, writer, and teacher, Barry John. On behalf of the Mahindra Group, I would like to applaud Barry for his outstanding contribution to Indian theatre and request him to please accept this year's Meta Lifetime Achievement Award.
Hello. You know, I got the shock of my life when I received the news of my award. I'm into the 4th year of semi-retirement, and it's now about 14 years since I last directed a play. That's my shock. My thanks go to Dr. Anish Shah of the Mahindra Group for this amazing honor, especially when I see the list of distinguished names that I now join. Thanks also, of course, to Anand Mahindra for the concern and support that he bestows upon theatre. I would like to thank my parents for their complete disinterest and opposition to my involvement in theatre since early childhood. They generated in me the defiance and obsession to take up the struggle, even if it was 5,000 miles away in India. I need to thank my guru, my teacher at college, John Hodgson, for being that very special teacher that changed my life. I would like to thank all those in India, too numerous to mention by name, that I have been privileged to work with and to befriend, who have given me that special love that only Indians can give. Finally, I would like to share a prayer that drama and theatre studies find their place in the education of children. When taught well, they have the magical power to produce young people who are self-aware, creative, critical, compassionate, visionary, and hardworking. All the qualities needed to build a better world, I think, and to dislodge other violent and divisive qualities that seem to govern most of it currently. Jai Hind.
An actor, director, designer, writer, and teacher, or I would say a complete institution in himself. Barry, salute to you for what you have done for theatre and what you mean to all of us. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Dr. Shah, Jay Shah. Mahindra is a big example of how a corporate can exhibit its love and regard towards arts, and we all in the arts fraternity will always be grateful. Thank you. Now moving on to discuss Barry's contribution to theatre, our session for today, The Nature of Silence, the Art of Successful Direction by Barry John. Please welcome our panelists, Divya Seth Shah, Kirti Jain, Lilette Dubey, Siddharth Basu, and Vidyun Singh. Divya Seth Shah. From childhood, Divya knew she wanted to be an actor. Having been part of children's creative theatre, the Shakespeare Society at St. Stephen's College, Hum Log, India's first TV soap opera where she had a dream debut, Divya performed on the Delhi stage with Tag, Stage Door, Mask, Yatrik, Primetime, and then subsequently in the Mumbai TV industry with iconic shows. She has also acted in popular films like Jab We Met, English Winglish, Dil Dhadakne Do, The Accidental Prime Minister, and some web series. Divya is an animal rights activist and an environmentalist. Our next panelist, Kirti Jain. Beginning her career as a producer with Doordarshan in 1972, Kirti Jain joined the National School of Drama in 1977 as an associate professor of dramatic literature. She rose to be the school's director, serving in that position from 1988 to 1995. Her directorial work includes plays such as Girish Karnad's Hayavadana, Mohan Rakesh's Ashad Ka Ek Din and Lehro Ke Rajhans, Mahesh L. Kunchwar's Holi, and Subarna Lata, based on Asha Purna Devi's novel scripted by Gitanjali Shri. More recently, she has directed Aur Kitne Tukde, based on Urvashi Butalia's book, The Other Side of Silence. She has received the B.V. Karant Smriti Puraskar for her overall contribution to theatre from the National School of Drama and a Sangeet Natak Academy Award for her contribution to Indian theatre as a director. Our third panelist, Lilette Dubey. Lilette Dubey is a renowned film, television, and theatre actor, and she has been artistic director of the Primetime Theatre Company for over 29 years, and her theatrical work, both as actor and director, has received much acclaim nationally and internationally. She has been on the expert Committee of the Ministry of Culture, on the jury of several theatre and film festivals, and is a trustee of Nrityagram. Our next panelist, Siddharth Basu. A well-known TV producer and director, is also one of India's best-known quiz show hosts, famous for iconic shows like Quiz Time, Mastermind India, and University Challenge. Siddharth was one of the first members of the TAG repertory when it was founded in the summer of 1973 and remained active during its heyday through to the mid-80s. He was producer-director of shows like Kaun Banega Karodpati, Das Ka Dam, Jhalak Dikhla Ja, and India's Got Talent. He is also the founder of DigiTalk, Tree of Knowledge Digital, a greenfield venture in the area of interactive edutainment. Siddharth has acted in Bollywood films, including the award-winning Madras Cafe, and edited, created, and authored several quiz books, like a series with the Encyclopedia Britannica. Our final panelist for today, Vidyun Singh. Vidyun Singh is the Director of Programs, Habitat World India Habitat Center. Heading the Programs Department since its start in 1997, she has worked extensively in the programming of performing and fine arts events. She has curated multiple theatre and film festivals, as well as fashion and art exhibitions over the years. A pioneering fashion choreographer, Vidyun has been closely involved in fashion and design since the inception of the Indian fashion industry. She has also been an advisor on the National Design Policy Panel and the Handloom Board. Session will be moderated by Sanjoy Roy. Ladies and gentlemen, The Nature of Silence, The Art of Successful Direction by Barry John. Sanjoy, over to you.
Thank you, Suraj, and once again, thank you to the Mahindra Group, and a big congratulations to Barry John from all of us for this incredible award, Barry. Here's to you. Many more decades of conversations, of great times, of fun, and more learning. So cheers. I'm not sure how we can do the art of silence with Divya and Lilette being on the panel. They've never known what silence has ever been about. So I will ask Rajat every now and then to mute them, because that's the only way they can.
I'm sorry.
They can be silent. Here we go. Yes, so I rest my case. I rest my case. But I'm going to start actually with Lilette. For some reason, you're speaking away, but you're on mute. So hang in there for a second. I'll come back to you.
Power in your own time.
I'm going to start with you. But before that, I'm going to just take this opportunity to start reading out messages have been pouring in, and I don't want to get stuck at the end with having to read all of them out. So I'm going to just take a couple of them for Barry. Before this, Ramanjit Kaur, many congratulations to the Meta team for all of the work that's been put in and the celebration and appreciation of theatre. Shreya Bhatia to Barry, sir, you changed my father's life and my own. And this is Amit Bhatia, a member of TAG for many years before he passed away. Ashwin Chadda, hey sir, congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
And Benny, you're commenting on everything.
Barry John, Theatre and Education Company came into NSD. Many of us are blessed to be part of it. The Explorer Space, thanks a lot, Barry sir, for being an inspiration to me. And thank you for everything. Regards, Kuldeep, actor. From Dilip Salam, never a more kind and generous fellow player, well said. Theatre should not be a privilege for a few, but it is. We are fortunate to have received the gift of theatre from Barry so early in our lives, as Abha said. I'm going to now go into the panel and we'll come back for, maybe I'll do Benny Dayal. So many days at New Delhi Railway Station. Grateful to Barry and Meera and Sanjoy for their work on Salam Bala Trust. From Mekhi Deva, congratulations, Barry. Back to having such lovely memories of TAG in the 80s. Babu, going back to the beginning, where it all began, you all were part of the inception, the founding group. What happened? What was that alchemy that got you all together? Not necessarily St. Stephen's getting together with LSR or with Miranda House, but really as a group of people, as a community, what got Theatre Action Group going at that time with Barry having arrived?
It was way back, I believe it was in 71, 72, the first play that I did as a 16-year-old, and Lilette was in it, and Vidyun was in it, and a whole lot of other friends I remember, was Mixed Doubles, I think. It was a yardstick production. And from one thing to the other, and we saw the kind of what went into the stagecraft and the vision and putting together of the shows. And it was Rajiv was there at college. I think he was the Sheikh Sock secretary, and there were somebody in Dramsock, and Barry was invited to come to St. Stephen's and what was then an absolutely revolutionary kind of production called Disorderly Women at the Stevens Hall, where a bike came roaring down the ramp. There was a rock band playing with Paramveer doing rock music in the balcony. That was the beginning. And then we toured with Hamlet. We actually did a production of Hamlet in black and white costumes that Faisal Al-Qazi, I think, designed. That was the kernel. I think that was the seed that led to the thought, at least among a number of us in the group, that this was something that could happen, that a group could be formed of very young people, and the resources were tough. But it was in the summer of 73 that a group of people, and the founding members, among them, Barry was there, Dai was there was Himanshu, there was Rajiv Mehrotra, there was a whole lot of other people who put together the mechanics, the administration of the group. But that summer of 73 was formative, because there was a triple bill which we traveled across. First, we did a very intensive workshop, and then which we dealt with a deconstructed Macbeth, put back together, very kinetic imagery, which was quite a departure from whatever was done at that point. It was revolutionary in the sense it was kinetic, there was chanting, there was movement. The whole play of Shakespeare's text was original, which was re-put back together in a fantastic way. In a way, it was simple, just black costumes, very precise lighting, but we traveled with that. There was a group of 16 people, including lights and everything, and we traveled to schools and colleges across Mussoorie and Simla and everywhere, living together as a group, working together. We did a workshop in the afternoon for all these audiences to make them understand what went into the play. We did a children's play, which was very different for a very different age group. That was really the most formative period for us, for many of us, this idea of the ensemble theater, of putting to experimenting with form, of thinking what we were doing, of improvisation, of learning of the voice and the body and what you could do going beyond speech, was the beginning of a direction that Barry introduced us to, and which was absolutely new. And though it was so experimental, it was fantastic. The first few productions in IFAX and Kamani and in St. Stephen's of A. Macbeth, it performed to packed house. That was how TAG announced itself in Delhi. And it was at that time wonderful that something so different, classical Shakespeare deconstructed, put back together in this very exciting form and a very occult interpretations of the original, was what really set the trend. And then things went from one thing to the other.
Vidyun, what is it that about Barry or about theatre or the arts that all of us, all of the people who've spoken before and all of us on this panel, has changed our lives forever? Everybody's paid tribute to Barry in terms of how he's shown us the way, or how he's been able to encourage us to be yourselves, and this is something that you talked about. So what is it that he did, apart from the tugging of the mustache?
So, you know what, I think listening to what everybody's been saying pretty much actually captures the essence of what it is, because it was not just about the acting. The entire space actually prepared you. And at that point, you may not have realized it. I didn't personally look at it in that way till I look back and I realized that whether it is you, whether it's Babu, whether it's us, our experience there is actually what made us look at life differently. You know, it made us understand that if there is something that makes you happy, if you have a passion for something, it doesn't matter. The rest of it, whether there's going to be success or not, whether there's going to be money or not, it's the idea of the thing. To pursue that idea, that is what gives you happiness. And I think by watching Barry at work, we actually absorbed and imbibed that. And I think that's what everybody took away from there. The dedication, the kind of meticulous planning. It was the exposure that I got, which was to the production, to the admin, watching the lighting, watching him work on putting sets together. It wasn't about the money that went into the sets. It was the creativity. It was the imagination. It was about how to get things done. So all that is something that we all took away with us as lessons.
Lilette, talking about lessons, you yourself run a theatre company. Why is theater so special that it builds these communities that stick together across generations, across decades, whether it's through arguments, through fights, through marriages, through love affairs, and all of that? What is it? What is that special something that has bound people together, and why? And sort of what was that magic in tag that sort of continued, despite the fact that in many ways tag has ceased to exist some decades ago?
You know, like you were saying, I was remembering Ravi just now, because for me, the genesis of Meta, of course, was a dream that Ravi had, and I was remembering how attached he was to Barry, and how my coming into Tag was actually kind of with him. And I want to clarify that I was one of the founder members. It wasn't only Babu. I was one of the founder members of TAG. And because TAG is so important to me, it's important for all of us to know that. I think it's a lot of things. You know, when we were talking just now, when Vidyan was talking, I was also thinking about that because it's part of your answer. Because it was being a part of a theater company is way beyond, you know, I've done a lot of films, I've done a lot of television here, abroad, and we meet so many wonderful people. It's not that there's a lack of talent, there's a lack of connection, there's a lack of learning. All that, those are there. You know, it's a very good question because all of that is there, Somjoy. But what is it that makes theater so special? Why are those bonds so strong, and why do they last like this a lifetime? I think it is the way you approach theater is very different from the way you approach a film or a series. It's a very isolated experience compared to theater because the essence of theater is teamwork. Teamwork. Do you remember when we were in Edinburgh doing Dance Like a Man? We were only 5 people there doing the play. We had half an hour to take the set off.
15 minutes. 15
minutes. The other people had 15 minutes. We had 15 minutes to put the set on. So we're talking about teamwork and a kind of working together that is phenomenal. I'm a person like Vijay Krishna, who's MD of 3 Godrej companies, picking up his dhoti and, you know, sweeping the floors and getting everything ready, and somebody else carrying furniture across. It's so democratic. It's the biggest equalizer. I think there is no other thing that equalizes you. Maybe sport does, but it doesn't even have the star system. When you worked in other mediums, they can deny it as much as they want, but there is the star system, you know. I mean, there are big stars, smaller stars, and then very, very small stars. But this doesn't happen in theater. The very foundation of it is democracy, is teamwork, is doing everything, everybody being equal. And most important, I think, it's the quality of time that you spend together and the kind of time. Where do you rehearse? When you do a film, where do you rehearse? I've done 65 films, except for a few table reads. I have never rehearsed. I think Mira's film, Monsoon Wedding, and I always told her it was like doing a play because for 10 days we rehearsed every day from morning to evening. You know, it was like a rehearsal for a play. Actually, she was doing it because money was tight, budgets were tight, and she wanted to sort of show the DOP all the shots so that we could just shoot in one go without doing many takes. Long, you know, we did long takes. So that whole process of preparing a creative piece together, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in any other medium. It happens in dance, of course. I'm not talking about the performing arts. I'm talking about the, you know, live performances. So I think that is sort of the kernel of where it begins. You spend so much time together. You are supposed to be egoless. You know, you have to drop your ego when you're doing a play. You know, so many times I can tell you it's very funny. People have walked into a performance of mine when I'm acting on stage, and they've come a little early and they've seen me running around on stage, you know, barking, cleaning things, dusting things, and they look very horrified that how could I be doing all this? And I said, you know, that all that nonsense is for film. We are all the same. I can be jhaduwala and I can be director. I can also handle the lights. I can do everything. It doesn't matter. You know, we are all the same. I think that kind of a premise binds us together in a way that nothing else can. Plus, many an evening, after rehearsal, because the whole process is so much 3, 4, 5 hours together, intensely working, and then the intensity of the work that you do, I mean, the way we were trained by Barry, the workshop way, the improv way, was a way where you had to bear yourself a little bit. It was not all surface. You come to a film set, you pick up the lines, and you just give a shot. Here you have to go inside yourself. There's a process. There's a process which brings things out of you. And when you have that kind of a creative process, you get to know each other in a way that you never can in anything else. I'm talking about other mediums. It's a very different medium. And then, of course, we were all very young. Don't forget that. We were young, and we had so much to say, so much to share. We had so much to express. It was that whole crazy idealism and passion of youth that we shared together that always binds you in a way that nothing can. I mean, if I do a play with someone today, it can't be quite the same. I see my young actors when I'm directing. They are going through the same process. But I am a little out of it, as Barry must have been. I mean, they're fond of me, but Barry's the director, I'm the director, and I'm much older. But the way they connect with each other, you won't believe it. Through the lockdown, they've been talking to each other constantly. So obviously they connect in a way which is very magical and very, very special. So
let me hold you there, Lilette, and ask Divya. Divya, Lilette talked about democratic, everybody's whatever, and young. We sort of stole you from another theatre group when you were very young, and we needed you for this particular role. And I remember going up to you and tentatively sort of saying, Divya, would you consider, coming to TAG? Because they were, rivalries as they are in, not from our side, not from TAG, but obviously from, the other groups. But you came into TAG and you stayed and you loved every bit of what it meant. But to you, the question is that you came from a very different form of direction, and you came to Barry, which was, as we said earlier, the art of silence. Tell us about the process and the difference that you found in
when
that.
When I came to TAG, first and foremost, the part that you all wanted me for, I told Barry, I won't do that. I want this part. And he made
She played the diva even then, so that's okay.
And I went home, and then he called me back the next day and said, all right, you can have it. And then, like you're saying, the art of silence. I came from a very bombast environment. I came from a very, where I was here and everybody else was there, because I was the only one training to be an actor. Let's be honest. Everybody else was coming after work, was, doing theater incidentally. I was the only one who wanted to be an actor. So that was the difference there. Here, everybody wanted to be an actor or a director or a writer or a sound and light technician or learn set design from Barry. Everybody loved theater as passionately. The thing with Barry was that very quietly, in his own calm way, which I never found insecure. In fact, I thought for somebody as loud as me, who talked so much, who was so used to instruction and instructing, that it would be difficult for me. I, in fact, found it so refreshing that he just sat there quietly and allowed you to proceed, to process, and to figure things out for yourself. And then just say a couple of words or a line in observation to your scene, which would make the penny drop, which would reveal to you a facet of the character that you hadn't even thought of. I found that so amazing. I used to be very happy just sitting there quietly in his silence and just watching him make those little notes and, peering over there and listening to what he said about the scene we had just done. It could be one line. It would sometimes be just one line, and to tell us it was good or it needed work or it was rubbish or we should really rethink it. But I found that so beautifully refreshing. And it was so many plays and so many weeks and weeks of rehearsals and quite a few years that we did so many plays. And I never found that intimidating or quiet. I loved it. I loved the fact that that was his way of working.
Babu, I'm going to come to you about reading Barry and reading the aggression of crossing the T or dotting the I in a second. Kirtiji, I think one of the legacies that will live beyond all of us here and Barry is really his contribution to theatre and education, to theatre with all of the people. I mean, at Salam Balak Trust, for example, with 32 years down, 105,000 children. And I know that everything that we imbibe with the kids is really those seminal years where Barry has worked using the arts to be able to realize their full potential. Today, with the new national education policy, with all of its flaws, I think there's even a more important process in place. Can you tell us, because when you set up the theatre and education program in National School of Drama, it was way before its time. Today it's perhaps much more fashionable and acceptable in schools to have arts programs, but then it wasn't. But yet the National School of Drama did so at that point of time, and more recently, I think National School of Drama, after Barry did the education program, came up with, now if every school has to have a theatre director or a dance director, then we must build many more National School of Dramas to be able to teach people, to be able to teach in these schools, etc. But that really is his legacy. Tell us a little bit about the program and Barry's contribution to that.
I was very lucky that, I have...
You'll have to come a little closer to the mic because we're not being able to hear.
I was very lucky that I was in that position in drama school, that one could actually initiate something which was a dream. I happen to have learned a lot about life, like all of you are saying, having acted in tag or acting in theatre. After my graduation, I was very sure that I don't want to continue with this formal education. And that's how I landed in National School of Drama. And those 3 years, more than learning about theatre, it was actually learning about life. So it was learning about yourself, it was learning about things around you. It was becoming more critical, more analytical, more confident, so the whole gamut that everybody has been talking about. And therefore, that was the kind of starting point for me to, start imagining that if only education could have an input or have an interaction with theatre, it would be so much more different, and it would be so much more fun, and it would be so holistic. So this was a dream that I carried with me for some time. And so when I did get the opportunity, I thought that let's kind of begin that process. Luckily for me, there was a scheme, sort of bureaucracies, how they function. That you have to get permissions from the society, ministry, this, that, and the other funds. But there was already a scheme existing from Karanji's time which said to form a repertory of adults for children. So I thought, let me just use this, keep this nomenclature, and start a DIT company. And that's how this idea came. And we had to actually, let me now admit, I hope none of those senior bureaucrats are around, that we had to do it quite surreptitiously. We were very keen, but we hadn't got these approvals. None of us actually knew anybody in the country who knew about methodology of theatre and education, except for Barry. And you know that drama school is slightly incestuous when it comes to getting people, and one knew instinctively that there would be hostility if one thought of somebody like Barry coming in to head a section. So we were actually confabulating at several levels of how to start it quietly, how to bring Barry in quietly, and so all this was happening. But fortunately, we were able to manage it. And I must say that, the kind of vision that he was able to give to the DIE company in several ways, in the sense that he knew that the initial commitment would have to be towards performance. So performing for children, because it was in drama school, because it was this adult repertory for children. So we kept that facade. And therefore started with performances. But he gave a kind of framework to the company whereby we could constantly be interacting with children, so through children's theatre workshops, going to schools, doing interactive plays, and getting them, getting the actors in this repertory to constantly interact with children to be able to come up with ideas of what they would like to see in terms of theatre. So that was one part. But the other part was to set the rules of not allowing any hierarchy in the group that was there. So it was truly meant to be democratic. By which time in drama school we were getting quite used to, different kind of, because of facilities, that there would be a carpentry department coming to do the construction of the set, somebody else would come to do the cleaning. But Barry insisted that everyone will have to do everything and that it has to manage it on its own. So that was another, so it became like an island within the school. This was a company which was working quietly, doing very good work, very dedicated. And the other thing was that how do you make it inclusive? You get all kinds of children in the Children's Theatre workshop. How do you design that workshop to train these young people who had never done this kind of work into how to have that empathy and to make it truly democratic? And I really think that those were very, very important lessons for me, for those artists who were with the repertory, with the TIE company, and for the future of the theatre and education movement. So I must say that the kind of framework created at that time for the TIE company continues still today. I mean, while we should have evolved, it should have gone beyond that because the needs are different today. But somehow that remains the base because people really, sort of find that now comfortable, and they feel that it's answering the need for children to engage with society, with ideas, with empathy, with collective work. And that's something which I think was very, very valuable.
As you rightly said, it's that framework which has been so important that he set into place, and that really will be the legacy here on. Babu, before I come to you, I'm going to just read a few more comments that have come in. Amber Venkatraman, all the way from Houston in the USA. Many, many congratulations, Barry. An honor to have worked and learned from you in my life. Audrey D'Souza, this is the first time ever I hear this kind of gratitude expressed to parents. Many congratulations, sir. Vijay Tanka, wonderful how you and your work have grown from city to city. Many, many milestones. Phoenix Theatre and Education Company, you worked really hard and deserve the success. Congratulations. Barry, Sanjeev Aluwalia, timely, appropriate, and well-deserved. More power to your elbow, Sanjoy and Barry John. Shikha Bakshi, heartiest congratulations, sir. God bless you. Best of health and happiness. Regards, Galib Tatta. Babu, coming to you, deciphering Barry John. In the times when you were, especially in rehearsal, and Barry sat and won this thing, and you had to go through, and you did your scene once, twice, thrice in an evening, and Barry sat sort of, occasionally twirling at his mustache, or meticulously, carrying on, sort of crossing that T. You had to decipher whether you've been able to achieve or realize what he has in mind for you. I remember in Amadeus, which was my first experience in TAG, and to see you and Lilette acting, that really came home, and I used to be completely mesmerized by Barry's notebook and kept wanting to sort of, see what he was writing on it. Tell us about how you sort of worked the code, so to speak, and broke that code of silence.
It was not always silent. As a lot of people have said, you heard it in the tributes, you've heard it otherwise. Barry took the road less traveled. And that was one of the things that was very important for all of us to see that. He's an individual with his particular characteristics. One of them is long spells, has always been long spells of unnerving silence and part mood swings. That's something that happened with Barry. That is something that you took for what it was. I don't think it was always deliberate. I think sometimes it was something that happened, and it's something you live with. We have, I've experienced work with so many people, either they've been mentor figures or they've been sort of, actors, performers, artists, creative people. I think you live with whatever the particular sort of figure is and how you do it, but you know what the vision is, and you always knew that with Barry. Barry was not just one thing. He was not just the sum of his parts. He was the whole. And part of that was figuring out what he did as a teacher. Apart from everything, we always approached theater as a total art. So when you wanted to do a scene and you had a problem and he was not coming out with it, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, you had to figure things out. You were worried sometimes when there was hardly any time. Things had to be put together. And remember, this is not just acting. There was so many other parts to production. And Barry had his fingers on a lot of important levers. It could be sets, it could be organization, it could be audience, it could be ticketing, it could be publicity, it could be the design of the poster, it could be so many costumes, it could be so many other things. And if he had a silent spell, the nature of silence, as you've chosen to call it a little wickedly, is that you had to figure things out on your own, but that was part and parcel of what he was, and you accepted it, and you went along with it. But through it all, there were very lucid communication. There was very systematic, because along with all that, that was a time of rebelliousness, of iconoclasm, of complete things being out of control, experimentation, psychedelia, revolution, all that was in the air. It was heady days at that point of time. There was the discipline of the art, which is something that we learned from Barry, along with everything else, along with unbridled imagination and sort of flights of fancy. There was the discipline, there was that figuring it out. So if the crossing of the T's and the dotting of the I's was just a distraction or whatever it was, never mind. You had enough of an indication of what was to happen with the play. And Amadeus was, you remember, it was hugely successful. It happened, and there was enough indication, direction, design, part of the whole happening for it to come together in the way that it did. Also, you would recall that there was a last minute sort of change, because Barry stepped in as Salieri. Initially, he had to sort of, we wondered whether he would know those reams of lines, but he did. But I remember as Amadeus on stage, just being transfixed by Salieri and his performance, to some extent more than F. Murray Abraham, because I used to watch that. Had happened once before with Creon in Oedipus, I remember. Again, a last minute replacement. Barry stepped in reluctantly, but the magic of that incantation and that speaking and, have people eating out of his hands, as somebody had mentioned earlier, is something, that magic connection with the audience and happening. We took our cues from them, not from second to second sort of, spoon feeding and figuring out what had to happen. So a long answer to a short question is, what happened during those silences is that silence was just one part of the story. There was enough else happening to get a clear idea of what was to happen. And there was certain trust that we would find our way through.
Vidyun, I'm going to come to you about design, but I'm just going to go straight to Lilith. Babu, for Amadeus, Barry took 3 days to perfect all the lines, but the other day I sent him a message after seeing the film version of the stage version of the Western production, and I said, of the new, sorry, not Western production, of the National Theatre new version, and I said, Barry, you're Amadeus, and his lines of "you are the enemy" still continue to play on in my head irrespective. So that was just an absolutely brilliant performance. Lilith,
I second that. I agree with that completely.
Lilith, one of the things perhaps that you, in your form of direction, I've seen is you've also in many ways inherited Barry's generosity of allowing the actor to find his or her space without necessarily over-directing them or coddling them into a particular path. And you too, once you sort of lay out, and I've done a number of course you stopped casting me now, I have nobody casting. But in those days, you had that sort of vision and you also allowed for that silence. Was that something that you also found through your process with Barry?
Totally. Since this thing is about the art of silence, for me, that was the biggest takeaway for me as an actor and director. For me as an actor, I came fresh. I didn't come from like Divya did from another group. I just come straight. I think Vidyun and I went for our first audition together. I still remember, for mixed doubles. I remember we felt very bold. We had to say things like, we were playing tennis in the thing, and we were saying things like balls and all that to you, and this and that. So it was all very. We were 17 and very excited to be part of this very, sort of grown-up play. Anyway, what I was saying was that for me, since I only knew Barry, I've always said my mentor, my guru, who I've never acknowledged the gratitude I really have for him. As Vidyun said, I said that I think in my speech, it's taken me all these years to understand what an impact Barry, the sheer contact with Barry, how transformative it was, really. I thought things like my father never wanted me to do things. So what he said about his parents, it wasn't quite like that, but it was the same thing. I had to really sort of be very rebellious to want to do theatre. But the art of silence for me, the fact that Barry didn't speak was the only way I knew Sanjoy. I didn't know any other way. And I found it such a marvelous, marvelous exploratory, that's why I said in my speech also, the freedom to let us go. These were professional shows that he was putting up, magnificent classics. And he just allowed us to fumble, fail, fall, find ourselves, the part, the truth, all on our own. That what he was really, and he always said that to me, was that he was a kind of guide. He was only there if you were taking a wrong turn or you were not getting the essence of something, then he was there to give you the right sort of direction. Even then, he never told you this is it. He spoilt me. He spoilt me for life, because I found it so difficult after I came to Bombay. I never wanted to work with anyone in Delhi. And even here, he spoilt me. I never wanted to work with anyone. I never felt that they quite understood the way Barry worked. They were so comparatively autocratic, and I'm not giving the names. They were very, very big directors. But we had been used to look within ourselves. We had been taught to, that all seeped into us as human beings as well. That's why I said it was not just in that space. It was everywhere that gave us the courage to be ourselves, to think for ourselves, to think out of the box. All these elements that Barry brought to the theatre sort of rehearsal space were imbibed like osmosis by us, And I found it, like Divya was saying, I used to find it lovely. I used to find it so liberating. The only thing was sometimes it led to some frustration, because if it led to days of his not saying anything, you didn't know but whether this was really, something you were doing right or not. And it was very close to the day of the show or something. And then you got really...
By the time he got to us, our lot, they were never days. They were just a couple of hours. And then he would, because you were all together. You were sort of, on the same level. You all founded the group together. But we were we came after. So they were never days. So it was never, oh my God, we're going to die. It was never that. It was just, okay, today there is going to be this. So let's deal with this. And like Babu
said, he hated us. It's okay. We know that.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Loved us. We got nothing but love and friendship and chips from him.
Let's just finish. I'm going to come to you. I'll come back to you, Kirti.
I think that as an actor, to me, that became the only way, Sanjoy. There was no other way. I never worked with anyone else. I worked a little bit with Ranjit Kapoor, a couple of other actors, but that was like 1 or 2 plays. My 15 years of working with TAG, I always say I went to the Barry John School of Drama before he ever had a school of drama. He put us through the grind. I mean, whether it was Brecht, whether it was Shakespeare, whether it was, Tennessee Williams, and he was wonderful to me. I mean, he gave me some delicious parts to do, which really, really ground me in my craft in a way that I don't even know if I'd gone to drama school would have. And letting me explore, he taught me one very important thing as an actor. When I was lost and floundering like this, I remember once I had done this Disorderly Women, I had done Macbeth, and I had done maybe Habeas Corpus, and which I played this dumb blonde. The play Ravi decided to bring his parents to the first play to come and see me acting as an actress was Habeas Corpus, this dumb blonde. So after those 3 plays, somebody came to me and said, and as you know, he's laconic and a man of very few words. So I said, Barry, I am so depressed. I'm very upset. So he said, what's happened? I said, everyone says you don't act. It doesn't look like you're acting. There's no acting, like an insult almost. And it's very depressing because I put a lot of work into what I do and, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't answer me for about maybe 20 seconds. And then he just looked at me and he said, well, you should take that as a compliment. I said, well, what sort of compliment is that? I'm working so hard to act and no acting is being appreciated. He said, it's all about taking all that, all the workshops, all the research, all whatever you've done, just putting it all inside yourself. It becomes you and none of the craft must ever show. That's all it's all about. And it was such an epiphany for me. All those silences and all had allowed me to go on exploring, searching for things. And when I started directing, I realized what you need to do is just have a vision of the whole and what you want and allowing people to do what they want so that they discover themselves. I mean, if you don't allow an actor to bring what he's got to the table, then what the hell is the point of getting the actor? He's not a robot that I place him there and say, go from X to Y and Y to Z and now give me this emotion and give me this and all that. I mean, that's the most boring way of directing. So you have to just let them go. And your job is only that if all doesn't fit, things aren't working, then it's your job to help them to find a way to make that work. But that also is not, that's my way, Sonjoy. It's not your way. You have to find that way. So that these lessons are all from him, the guru. There's no question of it. I mean, I am who I am as a person, as a personality, as a director, as an actor, thanks to those 15 years with Barry. Really, it's the truth.
Divya, Kirti, I'm going to ask you both this. It's a complex question and give it some thought. A lot of criticism has been given to English theatre, especially in the 70s and 80s, that this was elitist, this was an elitist group of people, decade after decade. And, Divya, you worked across the space and you worked in Bombay as well. And Kirti, in the more recent sharing where you've been recording some of the trajectory of the great theatre groups in Delhi, I'd love to hear both your points of view in terms of how do you see the space for English theatre, of course, in Delhi in its time, and even in today's day and age. Divya, do you want to start? And then I'll go to.
I never really gave that much thought, but yes, there was a lot of talk even at that time, and there were two definitive, groups: people who went to see NSD plays and people who came on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to watch plays at Kamani. And that's what the cult had become for that decade that we were all doing English theatre. But the fact of the matter is that it gave theatre its name in Delhi, and there were shows and there were ticket sales and there was talk and there were reviews and actors being discovered and these beautiful sets and people enjoying theatre. Whatever it takes to get people into the theatre, boss. They want to see a play that is fun, they want to see a murder mystery, they want to see a classic, whatever language it might be. The Hindi theatre had its own niche audience, and so did the English theatre. And I don't think there was either was belittling the other. It was completely different. The styles, the genres, the performances were completely different. And I think English theatre in the time we were all doing, and of course before the time that I was on stage and you all were, which led on to all of you making your own groups for theatre or for production or whatever. It gave English theatre in the capital its impetus. And after that, the theatre groups which came. I don't think there is anything happening in Delhi right now. Whatever I hear from friends and my mother. And in Bombay also, I think apart from Led's group and Raj's group, there's not very much English theatre happening. Rage does some, but they do bilingual. But I think it would be unfair to say that it was elitist. We were studying English literature, we were studying Shakespeare, we were studying all these things, and I think those plays were being done. I had a Shakespeare Society in college as well. So, and
a lot of people say that
Barry did, in spite of language barrier.
House, people like you and me formed that sort of elitist club. But let me ask Kirti. Kirti ji, tell us about your impression, because you've studied this phenomena in many ways.
Yeah, you must remember that, I was a student of drama
Kirti
school.
ji, you'll have to speak up because
yeah, you will have to remember that I was a student of drama school when Al-Qazi was the director. So, I mean, sort of he came from English theatre, and because of the policies of drama school, he was directing in Hindi. So, as far as the sensibility is concerned, one felt that it is a theatre sensibility. There is no difference between what is happening in Hindi theatre or English theatre. And I personally agree. I agree with it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
I agree with Divya that actually there was no such segregation or hostility. It was a different group of people who went to English theatre and who went to the Hindi theatre. Sort of there was a different category that went to the Punjabi theatre when we talk about Delhi. So, sort of there are different clientele. I personally must admit that barring plays of tag, I really did not connect with any of the other English theatre groups that were performing at that point. Because here was a kind of, sort of seriousness of purpose. There was a kind of creative excellence that you saw in the performance. There was an intensity. There was, there was conviction when you saw a tag play. I mean, I remember seeing Amadeus, Equus, and some of these plays, which I really thought were, they stayed with me. But I don't remember that about a lot of other groups that one saw. And therefore, somewhere in your mind, you felt that, okay, they're just doing it as, sort of time pass. There was the kind of seriousness with which we were trained to look at theatre. Very often we felt was not happening in most of the English theatre. Of course, it was not happening in a lot of Hindi theatre as well. So the categories were to do with good theatre and bad theatre, not to do with Hindi theatre or English theatre. The other thing I must say that I noticed, and that had upset me, is a big hoarding by, I don't know, I think maybe Amir Raza, which said that we do theatre in the language of the elite. So it was kind of announcing itself in a hierarchical way, which upset me, that, sort of, this is hardly a way of promoting your work.
I would just like to interrupt you, because I have worked a lot with Amir. He probably did it just to get attention and just to promote the play. He didn't really.
Yeah,
I know the way he thinks. He probably did it just to ignite interest in the upcoming production. Yeah. That's all.
But I wanted to say one more thing about Barry's method of working. I was wanting to respond to that I personally feel that having been trained in the other method of direction at the drama school, which was the conventional method of blocking, with which one was always uncomfortable when one was out.
Keep the mic here.
Out in the field. That was very uncomfortable, because as Lilith says that, actors are not robots. You have to give them that space. So I have I feel very strongly that Barry is one of the pioneers, very important pioneers, which introduced this other method, where you reach the production through improvisatory work. When you reach the production through actually collaborative work, where different ideas, different impetus, different cultural milieus come together, and you find a new language. So the whole emphasis on process, the whole emphasis on exploration, the whole emphasis on finding yourself is something which is very, very valuable in theatre. And I have a feeling that, maybe there are 3 or 4 others in the country who were working like that. But in my understanding, Barry was one of the first. And that was very valuable.
Thank you, Kirti. Vidyun, before I come to you with a couple of questions, I'm just going to Alka Khanna, hello from DC. My very favorite event while I lived in Delhi was Meta. Thrilled to be able to access it online all the way from the United States of America. Suvarn Rawat, my hearty congratulations, Barry, and thanks, Meta. It was a wonderful experience working with you, Barry, as our founder director of National School of Drama, TEIE company. With your guidance, I could complete my PhD in theatre. Benny Thomas, I hope this panel is a shining inspiration to every parent who despaired that their child would ruin their lives in theatre like mine. Rabi Mohanty, proud of you, Barry, sir, with all the love possible. Namita Gokhale, congratulations, Barry, and gratitude for the legacy of words, narratives, and ideas. Ghazala Amin, congratulations, Barry, and thank you, Meta. Abhijit Banerjee, congratulations, Barry, sir. With you, coming to you, you know, one aspect of Barry which I don't think is celebrated as much because everybody looks at him as a teacher, as a director, but it was really his brilliant design, stage design, and absolutely brilliant. Noises Off, Amadeus, Map of the World, Habeas Corpus, and it didn't matter whether we had a sponsor or no sponsor because he mapped the production based on the resources available. So Tea House of the August Moon or Noises Off was opulent, over the top, magnificent, incredible. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get Riaz to record a statement today. But on the other hand, his work with lighting, with music and Amadeus, in fact, the other day I asked Barry, I said, who did the Amadeus soundtrack? Because again, in the National Theatre soundtrack, I personally felt the track that Tag used was brilliant. Will you tell us a little bit about, you know, Barry, the production, and what you and Asha both within the lighting, because you've used this to the T, you know, in 30 years of your professional career post-Tag. So tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, so actually I was just smiling when I was listening to Lilette talk and Babu talk and all these people who today we are talking about silence. That time everybody was bitching out those silences, if I might point out, right? And these same people who are talking about it today and saying how they learned so much from it were the ones who were completely psyched at that time, right? The point was that there was the other aspects of it which didn't require words. And by the way, these silences today, everybody's realizing that as long as you were not going away from the central idea of what he had, he let you develop your own and put a stop to it when you were going off track. But forget all that. What I'm saying is that where it didn't require words was where the energy went, where the T's and the I's, the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted down to the last, were the set designs, were the brochure designs, were the poster designs, were the costume designs, were the props that were going to be used. That it was one man who was actually envisioning the entire thing, and that was not left to chance. And that's where the brilliance you saw, and the kind of attention to detail that was. And as I said earlier, keeping in mind that you're working with a certain budget and how to be able to get that across, I think was the amazing talent that he had to be able to create that. And yes, you're absolutely right. That is what one took away. And when we started Media Makers, yes, we went into fashion. But what we did was create sort of, it was a theater, fashion, the theater of fashion, because we did not produce fashion the way it was being produced now. We brought something else into it. As a matter of fact, Barry did some of our initial set designs for our shows. Babu did a lot of our comparing and voiceovers. So it was, we brought a lot of Tag into our initial years.
I'm going to come back to you with one more question. I'm going to do a couple of comments and then we're going to invite Barry to come on because I know we're over time. Barry, there are hundreds of comments on Facebook, so at some point you could just look at them because I can't read them all. Just a few more here. Vinu Pastricha, congratulations, Barry. This is amazing. JCS, Jesus Christ Superstar, in 1977 was for me was and has been one of the high points of my life. Thank you for the experience. Vikram Bajaj, congratulations, Barry. Sudhir Tandon, over the years, I have acted under his direction. As a reviewer, I have admired and sometimes criticized his productions, but I've always been struck by his amazing professionalism and his dynamic spirit. His journey over decades is akin to the search of a spiritual guru. meditation in theater. Benny Thomas, when it comes to design, Barry sets the bar, then, now, always. Benny Thomas, Kirtiji, you reach the production together, bringing different cultural milieux together to find a new language. Annie Thomas, greetings, Sanjay Roy, Punita, and all the talented folk who are part of the theatre adventure. Himanshu Jani, wishing you the very best and many, many more years of contribution to Indian theatre in our world. Kumar, congratulations. Mubarak, all of us will learn so much. I think that's from Premila Gupta. Heartiest congratulations, so on. Vidyun, what is it? How much do the silences have to play with all of the goings-ons backstage with liaison that all of us now have made part of our lives?
So I think, I don't know who it is who summed it up when we were chatting a little earlier. I think Babu, or who is it? I forget, before we went on. The fact was it you? I forget who said it. But with all the chaos going around, there was silence, you had to find a solution. So everybody scuttled off to do what they had to do to salvage it, because the show had to go on. So the silence actually worked brilliantly because it made everybody else do their job without being told.
But what about what I meant by the liaison was all of the romance. I was referring to that because
Barry on now, please.
Tag has created what?
Where's Barry? Why is he not
10,
here?
12 long-term couples and God knows how many fisticuffs and
listen, speaking for my better half or worse half, Alu does not know the art of silence. He never ever took away the art of silence then, and he doesn't take it away now. So that has nothing to do with this particular liaison. The others will have to speak. You'll have to speak for your own.
Please get back.
Babu, yours and Rosa's was not a tag romance.
This is not a
No, it wasn't. So I want to take this occasion to invite Barry back on. Barry, can we have you on if Rajat can put Barry's video on, and we can welcome Barry to this forum as we end.
Hello.
So Barry, the only question I have for you, and the stage is yours for whatever you wish to say, is that you didn't have any professional theatre training, right, when you washed up?
Thank you, dear children.
So tell us about your own learning journey and how did you perfect the craft that we have taken from you?
It's difficult to explain. I always say now, and I'm writing an autobiography, just so you know, so watch out. My life has been very fateful. When I first came to India, it was for 1 year as a volunteer on some English teaching program in Bangalore. I extended it to 2 years, by which time I had an invitation to come to Delhi and join theatre. And I thought, I can't miss this, because had I gone back to England, I would never have had anything to do with theatre, apart from going to watch plays. So I can't explain, I wasn't qualified. I wasn't trained in that. The college that I went to was to use drama as an educational medium in the teaching of children, of course, through the whole age range of school. And of course, that I'm grateful, I'm very pleased that I did that, because it has stayed as the foundation for all my work with people of whatever age, or situation. And why, and the last thing that I said in my speech is, please, when can we get drama and theatre in schools so that all children can have a taste of this wonderful medium of education? All children don't want to become actors. That's not the point. But all children don't want to be scientists or mathematicians, but they have to learn science and mathematics. So its power to change people, to develop people is magical. I really don't take credit for all these wonderful things that have been said about me. When I'm silent, I'm dumb, you know. It's often I don't say anything because I don't know what the fuck to say. Excuse my French. So
all is revealed. Finally, all is revealed.
All is revealed. Right. Revelation. The scene of revelation.
And the award goes to.
So that's what it was all about. Now you tell us.
Take it back. Give it to somebody else.
Yes. Talk now. Finally talk.
Yeah, you wanted me to talk, so here it is, baby.
Yeah,
Take it or leave
it. I am loving it.
Children behave. We're still online and live. So just
oh,
this comes to a tag reunion, a tag thing.
Where?
Don't please. Let's not pretend.
Where do I think I am?
So Barry, one last question, and then we have to sign off.
Promise. You all heard that.
A lot of people are also wanting to come on.
Your check is in the mail.
Meera, send Meera the link. Meera wants to come on. Barry, one last question. Tag has been such a journey and has been such a journey for so many different sorts of people. With you at the sort of central fulcrum of it all. Did you ever have a sense, or did you ever have a sense that this would be the journey for Tag, or was it just a group of accidents?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I had no idea where it would lead to. I didn't even start Tag. I'm credited with that. But Diana Moore, the lady that was on for a few moments, who now lives in Italy. She was the force. She was the woman who got things done. I was just laid back and saying, "Tika, cello."
TK.
But once the opportunity was there, I took it. I grabbed it.
Yeah,
it's called destiny. That's destiny.
Destiny, fate, destiny. Same thing.
It was that she was very forceful. She was very organized, and she was hell bent.
She was a stage manager.
Yes.
She was a stage man. That's you have to be organized if you stage manage a professional theatre company.
Yeah.
And the shows.
On that happy note, I'm just going to do a couple of more comments, and then we're going to have to sign off. Deepika Deshpande, Amin says, we realized today how fortunate we were to work with Barry. Vikram Bajaj says, I still cherish the years and St. Xavier's when you came to direct us.
Oh, Vikram Bajaj.
It's tough where your libretto is something I still
Uncle Chips.
Hema Singh says, congratulations, it's wonderful. Asha Kocher says, bravo, Barry, thank you for shaping our identity.
Bravo!
Maniam says, oh, how wonderful. Kush Patel, this is Meera Nair, Mubarak's Barry, my dear. You are who has changed our life. And on that, I'd like again for everybody to raise a toast.
Yes, Sanjoy, you're the only one with a glass.
You're the only one drinking.
Okay.
Typical, huh?
So raise a toast to Meta.
What's that, Lilette? Pani.
Aquavita. Aquavita.
I'm pretending
Aquavita.
vodka.
I think it's vodka, yeah.
So,
the power of the imagination.
Yes.
Join me all in raising a toast to Barry John, to Meta, to the Mahindra Group, Jay Shah, Anish, Anand Mahindra, in memory of Ravi Dubey, who would have loved to be here, and I'm sure Ravi's up there somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
With his own favorite tipple, I suspect.
And Amit Bhatia too.
And Amit
Bhatia and Pamela Rooks, and I don't know why they keep
and Pamela Rooks.
Yes.
All of these theatre types that keep dying all over the place. But on that happy note, Barry, congratulations, lots of love, many, many more successes to you in Dharamshala and wherever else. And over to Suraj. And just for everybody to know, this is the first time we've had the possibility of having a whole event around the Lifetime Achievement Award. Normally, it's part of our award evening, so it's squished to a few minutes because we always have a problem of time. So this is the first time we've been able to celebrate it in this
Are you
way.
saying I'm lucky?
You are lucky, as usual. This is accidental lucky, Barry. No
Look
vision,
at
no
the
whatever.
legions of people that love you and still remember you so fondly. Legions!
Give me more. Give me more.
Legions! Legions!
Congratulations. Over to you because they won't ever stop. So over to you. Rajat, mute everybody while Suraj is speaking because they won't give him the opportunity.
It's a delightful discussion. So obviously, even I was thinking that I should butt in or not. But thank you, really. Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you all the panelists for such an exciting session. Really, it was each minute of the conversation was really overwhelming. Thank you so much, and thank you, Barry, for making our day today. And many congratulations once again. Thank you very, very much. Once again, we would like to thank Dr. Nish Shah, Jay Shah, and the entire Mahindra Group for their support towards the arts and making this possible. And thank you all for watching today and being a great audience. We hope you all enjoyed the program and the session. Please do not forget to witness India's first virtual theatre awards to be celebrated on next Sunday, 30th of August at 7 p.m. Follow our pages for more information. Thank you once again and have a wonderful night.
I also want to sort of step in and give and thank Suraj and Purnika and Judith and Rima and all our colleagues, Pinky who and Shashi who do the edits, Punita who did the voiceover, all our digital and marketing team, and everybody at the Meta Secretariat for doing such a fabulous job. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay well, and the rest of you stay on. But thank you all, and this episode will be there for you all to view here on. Thank you. Rajat, you